Football, by the 1920s, had become a global game. It spread from Britain and boomed in countries with a burgeoning urban culture. But for football to have a truly global star, it needed a global competition. And that tournament arrived in 1924 with the Paris Olympics, which delivered football's first world celebrity, the Uruguayan Jose Andrade. And by the end of the decade, having already won 2 Olympic golds, Andrade was helping Uruguay win the inaugural World Cup. FIFA had been founded in 1904 by the football federations of Belgium, Denmark, France, the Netherlands, Spain, Sweden and Switzerland, although it was the French who took the lead. Despite scepticism from the British nations, FIFA was organising men's football at the Olympics from 1920. And a year after the competition, which was won by Belgium, it had an evangelical president in Jules Rimet, who was convinced both that professionalism was the only way the game could be open to all members of society, and that international competition was a way to spread a spirit of fraternity among nations. The football tournament of the 1924 Olympics in Paris was the biggest international tournament there'd ever been. The British nations were absent following a dispute over definitions of amateurism, but for the first time the competition featured teams not only from Europe but also from North and South America and Africa. It was wildly popular, generating a third of the total income of the games. Egypt pulled off a major shock by beating a much fancied Hungary, but it soon became apparent that the team to watch were Uruguay, and Rimet was delighted to have them. Had he not been, he may have looked a little more closely into just how amateur many of the Uruguayan players actually were. But nobody in Uruguay had given any thought as to how they could fund it. In the end, the president of the AUF, Atilio Narancio, put up his house as collateral for a loan to pay for the voyage across the Atlantic. But Uruguay still travelled in steerage and had to play 9 friendly matches in Spain on their way to Paris to raise funds. And yet they were still by far the best side in France. They were led by the tough fullback and captain Jose Nazazi, who would always wear a homemade knitted white hat, and their most gifted player was probably the skillful inside forward Hector Scarona. But the player who captured the imagination of the French public was the free-ranging centre-half Jose Andrade. Andrade was a fine passer, noted for la tijera, the scissors, a technique by which he could play the ball while lying on the ground. He was good-looking, elegant and charismatic, and he was also black. Now, there had never been a black footballer at the Olympics before 1924.